Welcome everyone to the You Can't Handle This, the Truth Sports podcast. My name is Rubbish. I am the co-host of this glorious podcast, and with me is my co-host, the Pistol. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, going well, mate.
Very good. I see that you're representing the Big Freeze with your beanie, hiding half your ugly mug.
Yeah, do all I can to hide that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a bit of a shame with the podcast format because you can actually see, you can see just how truly, you can see what we look like rather than the radio format, which lets you hide behind a mic. So we've got a special guest today. We're going to start doing this probably once a month. We'll start introducing some of the characters in our lives that that have strong sports opinions. And so, as everyone knows, my nickname is Rubbish. It's not my birth name, obviously. But in my family, I've got my dad and my sister, who are the super optimists. And then you've got me, who's the super pessimist. And somewhere in the middle, when it comes to footy, I'm talking about. And somewhere in the middle, striking a nice balance, is my brother, Kyle, who joins us today. Kyle, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, good fellas. Cheers for having me on board. I hear it's the number one podcast going on at the moment in AFL, so happy to be on board.
Very kind of you to say. Very kind of you to say. Let's make that real. So, look, I guess the idea here is that we've got plenty to discuss, and though it was a Fremantle buy, and this is traditionally going to be a Fremantle-centric podcast, what we're going to do is discuss general AFL, discuss any topics of the day, of which there are plenty. I've got a few here on my list that I want to talk about, but we can bring up anything you guys want. But I know both yourself, Pete, and Kyle, that you're both big into your American sports, and so I think today's probably a good opportunity to get stuck into maybe some of the NBA playoffs, discuss pre-season for the NFL. And my Broncos are going to be fucking garbage again. So you can both make fun of me on that.
Right. I'm a Pats fan, mate. So.
Yeah, well, you're both Pats fans, aren't you? So you're probably going to be cellar dweller like me. And then we'll move on throughout the pod, and then eventually get to our forgotten footballers segment. So Kyle's prepared 6 of the best names that he can think of that we probably haven't thought of in a while. So that's the structure of the day. Might as well get into it. So Kyle, let's just talk a little bit about the Dockers, and I suppose your thoughts on where we sit as a club right now, because we have in ad nauseum discussed the Dockers and how we think that they're probably not as good as what they should be, and that was the basis of this pod. But maybe what are your thoughts on where we sit, what our prospects are? What do you reckon?
Well, I thought early on, we showed a lot of promise. Our demographic is in pretty good shape in terms of the age of the list. I think we've got the right players in the right position. So key position players, rucks, and yeah, we've got some speed into our game as well at the moment. So that's all positive. I suppose the biggest issue for us was just when we come across the better teams, right? So we kind of witnessed that, yeah, we could compete with your Port Adelaides and Carltons, but we just weren't quite good enough to get the job done, I suppose. Um, but yeah, I mean, that last game that we played against Melbourne, I don't know, that kind of rejuvenated my confidence a little bit in the team and what kind of brand of footy we're trying to play. So, yeah, I just hope we can bring that to light. I reckon the Bulldogs this weekend, although they haven't been at their best all season, I think that's a pretty good challenge, especially if they get some players like Ed Richards and Cody Waitman might be back as well, I think. So if we can go over there and put on like a mature performance and get the job done over in Melbourne, that could set us up for the rest of the season, I reckon. So, yeah, I'm quietly optimistic, but, you know, it is Freo at the end of the day, so you never know what's going to happen. But, yeah, we'll see how it goes anyway.
Yeah, they're fucking painful sometimes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I'd agree with you. I think our speed is a work in progress because if you look at our midfield in general, Young, Sarong, Fife, um, Brayshaw, you wouldn't say that they're inherently quick, right? I mean, they can move, but they're not speedsters, right? But we are starting to inject players like Switkowski against Melbourne.
Kowski.
Probably had his best ever game, and he really showed his pace. But and Freddie,
Freddie.
you know, is pretty quick as well. So I think we're starting to inject a bit of that, but it would look a lot better with someone like Chad Warner in there.
100%. I think
Yeah.
I think where a lot of our slingshot comes from is our back half as well, and having a player like Jordan Clark who does bring genuine pace. I think he's like the quickest in our team just about, but he's on fire this year. Like he's been an amazing pickup, I reckon, for Freo. Yeah, he really sets us up from the back half, and we can play that slingshot brand and go forward. And yeah, that's exactly what we did against Melbourne. So yeah, see if we can keep it up. But as you said, if we can bring Chad Warner into the side, fire out, that just flips in midfield like that straight away.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess the question I've got now is how good are Melbourne? Like, I mean, we beat up on Brisbane earlier in the year, and it made it look like it was a really good victory. And then they were just terrible. Now I know they're still starting to come back, maybe a little bit now, and they're probably still dangerous. They'll probably make the eight, I think. But how good are Melbourne? Like, are
As
they
good as
really?
their doctors.
Sorry.
As good as their doctors.
Yeah, because as good as their doctors. Yeah, poor old Christian Petraka. Yeah, so what I want to see is I want to see us beat. Well, if we could beat Sydney in Sydney in a few weeks, that would that would probably be a pretty good indicator. But I think you're right. We need to see us beat somebody like, one of the top four or top six even, while they're playing well with all their players for us to get a better indicator. Because right now it's looking like Melbourne are actually trash. Like, and then you think about it, West Coast beat them. I mean, West Coast beat us. So, you can go down a lot of lines on where we actually are and what the true form guide is on that. I think the way you're thinking is probably similar to the way a lot of people are thinking. Pete, you probably subscribe a lot more to that line as well yourself, would you say?
Yeah, pretty much. I think coming up after this bye, we need to be careful we don't repeat last year's effort. I think I read somewhere during the week that we won 4 last year leading into the bye, and then we were terrible. We were at that Richmond game after the bye. We were pissed down most of the night. They jumped us early, and then we come back late but couldn't get the job done. And then I think we got belted by GWS, and I reckon one of our worst ever performances was like traffic cones that day. And then finals were over within a month after the bye. So as good as the last probably month has been for us, yeah, we need to make sure we're back
Yeah.
onto it this week and don't let the last 4 weeks slip like we did last year.
So yeah, and I look at the Bulldogs, right, and this is the exact sort of game that Dockers will lose. Now, I'm not saying we will lose it, but this is the game that we will go over there, not show up, and get beaten by 30 points or something, even though it'll look like we were beaten by 60. We'll make it look a little bit more respectable, but we will never be in the contest. Um, and then we all go back to thinking, shit, this is just the same old Freo. Now, I agree 100% with you guys that if we show some sort of maturity, we should be beating the Bulldogs, right? Because um, they do have injuries. Norton, no Alex Keith. Although he's a bit of a nowhere player, but Waitman. I don't think Waitman is back yet.
Isn't he?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think. Well, I'm looking at. I've
It's a
been looking.
test.
He's a test, is he? Well,
Mm.
okay. So even if he does come back, you'd have to suggest he might be a little bit underdone. Libba played against us last time. He's one. I think,
No, he
unfortunately.
missed last time. He went out
So,
with food poisoning or something.
Oh yeah,
oh,
that's right.
yeah, that's right. He did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but unfortunately for Libba, I think he's one concussion away from retirement.
Oh, absolutely. He's probably there now, to be honest.
Yeah. So
Bit like Brayshaw back in the Melbourne days.
Angus, yeah,
Yeah,
he's just had too many and nasty looking ones too.
yeah.
Like, not that I think that there's a good concussion, but so this is the time. Like, their reliance is going to be on Jamara and Rory Lobb to kick them goals. Now, Rory Lobb is an absolute sack of potatoes. He is hopeless.
Is there a guarantee he even plays this week?
I hope
Well,
so.
Brett Bevo said at the end of last week's game that Rory will be right to play and that he will be selected. So unless he's going to be Bevo and change his mind at the last minute, we should be expecting Lobb to play.
Yeah.
But he is trash anyway. I kind of feel like we want him to play because
I
I
do.
don't reckon he's got any confidence. Alex Pearce will make him his bitch, and so we've got to win this game. We are as healthy as I can ever remember our club being.
Yeah.
Other than Brennan Cox and Oscar McDonald, we're missing nobody who you could make an argument is in the best 18.
I think Cox is he's even close to making a return with Peel on minutes, hey? I think even this week.
Yeah, so I think there was an article yesterday that said he's one more week away. Like he's
Yeah.
very, very close to actually getting minutes for Peel. So we are. This is the time. And if we play like we did against Melbourne, now as bad as what Melbourne were, that I think there's been a lot of narrative in the media about how bad Melbourne were, but not enough credit given to just how bloody good Freo were.
Yeah,
And I think
100%.
if we had played like that against Collingwood, if we had played like that against Port or Carlton, we would have beaten them. We would have won those games. So
I guess a bit of the maturity comes in as we're talking about. We only played these guys very recently, so if JL and his crew can't learn some things from that previous game, I think it was only about a month ago.
Yeah.
If we can't learn from that and be on the front foot and actually start the game properly, like even Melbourne kicked the first 2 goals against us, we can start better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even against Melbourne though, we didn't start the best, right? Like the first 10 minutes, they kicked the first couple of goals.
Until this is over.
Yeah.
He did.
We look like the traffic cones.
Yeah.
And then I sent a quick one saying, "Oh, maybe I went a bit early."
Yeah. I was driving home from camping, and I got this message. I wasn't listening at the time because I forgot that it was actually on. And I got this message from Pete saying, fuck me, this is over already. and then and then I went, oh, okay, great. And I got like another half an hour down the road, and I checked my message again. Oh, I could have gone earlier there, and I looked at the score, and it was like 45-10. I was like, Jesus, how bad could have we been? And then I watched it. I saw we actually were bad. But
You know what's funny, Rubbish, is because we were obviously on the same camping trip, but I'd actually come here with my cousin Brad and watched a bit of the USC. And
yeah,
I deliberately didn't want to check in to the scores because I wanted to watch the game after, expecting that, hopefully we just put in a good performance. But I thought, screw it, I'll have a look at the halftime score. And yeah, I think we were like 70-20 by that point or something along those lines. So yeah, pretty chuffed about
yeah, no, it was an excellent game, and
that. Yeah.
if we bring that intensity and that style of
And
footy,
swagger. I think we showed a bit of swagger in that game too. Like
Mm.
Jordan Clark kicking that goal on the snap, and celebrating it. Like I feel like we just needed that exuberance and I don't know, something to get the supporters excited about at home, which we've kind of lacked, I reckon, the last couple of years. So yeah, no, I'm very
yeah,
impressed.
yeah, you raise a good point actually around the excitement. Like, I think in 2023, it was probably my lowest point as a Freo supporter. Now I know we've had lower points in our history. Shout out Damien Drum. Shout out 2-win season. The lowest point I can remember prior to this was after that 2-win season where Heath Black asked for a trade to St Kilda. That was the lowest point I ever got to. I was like, oh my God, my favourite player. Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
We're cooked. Just fold us up now. But anyway, last year I was pretty bloody demoralised, and it was because, as you say, not only were we losing games against teams that I think were inferior, but we also had no excitement, no X factor, no ability to score. We were chipping around. Our game plan looked like warmed up trash, and it was just miserable. Now, I sent a message to Longmuir after that game against Melbourne, which he answered, and I said, "Look, mate, if is that if that is the sort of style that you're trying to implement, and if that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but if that is the sort of game style that you're trying to implement, and if that is what we've got to look forward to in the future, then sign me up. That is fucking brilliant." And the response I got was something to the effect of, "Yep, this is what we've been. That was like the first time he can remember since he's been coaching where things came together as he had wanted it to properly."
When was the last time we even kicked a score that high, like ever?
There
Can you
was
You
one
have
think?
to
year.
go back a while.
Well, was it last year or the year before we smacked the Eagles by 110 points? It'd be
Yeah, it
that
was
game.
last year, late last year.
Yeah, we when we pummeled them, we probably got up close to that. But
Mm.
you're right, it doesn't happen for Freo very often because we never have any good goal kickers usually. But now it seems like we've yeah,
And you've got that three-pronged toll. Like you've got Jackson who kicked a couple, Amos, how many he kicked? Four. Tracy kicked another three, I think. So we're actually kind of dangerous in the key forward department now, which you can't say we've had that,
no.
I don't
Well,
know, for
historically it
years.
was always just Pavlich by himself,
Pavlich.
and then you'd have Jeff Farmer or Medhurst or one of those boys who were pretty dangerous, and then they'd throw Luke McFarlane up there if the matchup was right, and he'd kick a couple. But no, you're right. Um, so yeah, I think we all agree, pretty exciting, right? But let's just see how things go against the Bulldogs because we might be on here next week going, fuck me, we need to sack the coach again.
Yeah. No, good call.
I'm trying to move away. I'm moving away from that sort of commentary, I think. So anyway, you mentioned Jordan Clark, and he's been bloody brilliant, but not good enough to be in the All Australian
That
roster.
baffles me.
So I'm looking through this list, right, and I'm just trying to bring it up here. But Jordan Clark, to me, has had a better year than probably a bunch of like other players who were listed there. If you look at the
Andy
if you look at
McGrath, Durham.
yeah, like I just don't get or just don't understand. So for Freo, Luke Jackson, I'd say Clark's had a better year than Luke Jackson. Luke Jackson's been good, but Clark's had a better year than Alex Pearce. Right, I think he's been our best player.
He's been our best. Yeah.
Luke Ryan has been good, but I think Clark's had a better year than Luke Ryan. Caleb Sarong, okay, he's been bloody good, and Hayden Young he's had very very good games, but he's also had quiet games. I'd argue Jordan Clark's had better year than Hayden Young even. And then, some of the other names of note that you question. Now I realise this is just I realise this is just a squad, right? Nick Newman. Has Nick Newman had a better year than Jordan Clark? Brody Mychek. Like, again, I'm not saying these aren't guns. I'm not saying they're not good players. I'm just questioning how Clark is not ahead of like Sam Durham.
What half-backers are there, though, in the squad? Because
Well,
that's his position, right?
yeah. So they haven't actually nominated them to positions.
Mm.
No,
So
you'd say Newman, though, would be one.
Newman?
Nick Newman would be one. Tom Stewart would be another.
Andy
Tom Stewart's
McGrath.
good. Again, I don't think Tom Stewart's
Is Stewart in there?
Yeah, I don't think he's been that good this
He's
year.
Nah.
He's been tagged out of most games.
He's there by name, purely. Tom Stewart.
Yeah. Lockie Ash. Like, does he
Whitfield.
play halfback? It's the biggest joke of the lot, and I know he's not a halfback flanker. Your man, Pete. Jai Newcomb. Jai Newcomb.
God, how is he listed? How is he still in my fantasy side?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, that's concerning.
There's a reason why you're down the
Just look at the fantasy ladder and
Yeah, there's a reason why you're having an off year this year, Pete, and Jai Newcomb is a face to that reason.
just can't get him out.
You deserve to have him.
So Jai Newcomb, that baffles me. Connor Rosie has missed half the bloody year with injury. So Nick Vloston, good player, right?
Your man, Brad Hill.
Halfback flanker. Jai Clark's been better than him. Why there are any West Coast Eagles in this list, I've got no idea. Liam Duggan is a halfback flanker, right? He's trash. He can't kick. So, I realise that they've got. I think they must have a quota because no team has got more than 5 players. But I just question the credibility when they miss a guy like Clark who has had such a good year. There's always hard luck stories, and I probably would make an argument that maybe he isn't in the best 23, maybe. But for a halfback flanker, I can't think of too many better.
This might sound a bit silly, but do you reckon part of the criteria is the fact they don't want the whole backline filled with just Freo players?
Yeah.
You look at Clark, Pearce, Ryan, let's be honest, any of those guys could slot in.
We spoke about that last week.
Sorry, Pete, you muffled there a little bit, mate.
We spoke about that last week.
Yeah, we did. I can't see a situation where the AFL would want a backline filled with Dockers.
Yeah.
No matter how good the backline has been. So look, it is what it is. We're not going to change it here, obviously, but that's just one thing I wanted to bring up. But the other one is, have you guys been keeping tabs on, like, obviously the rumour mill around trades and players, wanting to leave or being targeted by other teams. Have you guys heard the latest on a couple of the West Coast players?
About Yo.
Not just Yo.
Oh,
Tom
Brass.
Well.
Yeah.
Now, if the Eagles lose Barras and Yo, they might as well fold for next year. Like, I can't, I wouldn't even, but like, if McGovern gets injured, like he always seems to, and they've lost Barras and Yo, just fold them up. Just don't even bother playing next year.
Yeah, you're relying on guys like Harry Edwards as your
Yeah.
go-to key back. It's like, yeah.
Who might be a good player, I don't know, but geez Louise, if that actually happens, then
Is that league still with the Swans?
no,
For that?
Collingwood.
No?
Barras.
Barras and Collingwood, yeah, because that was my initial thought. Because if I was West Coast, and let's say Chad Warner said he wanted to play for West Coast, I'd be offering Barras up tomorrow. Like, honestly,
Who wants to go to West Coast though if they're not having even Barras in their team? That's the issue.
yeah, they're going to battle to attract players if they lose a couple of their linchpins. And as you say, like Kelly and McGovern are older, and yeah, like I think that there'd be some attraction to young guys going, okay, look, you know, they're building a young squad, we can all come together, but they're more the players who are being drafted, I think. Like if you're a 24, 25-year-old wanting to come home, you want to leave your club, or you're going to leave your club that's successful, like Sydney are going to be. Why would you leave to go to a team that plausibly could win 5 games in the next 5 years?
What gives me the shits is
5 games are probably all against Freo. So,
what gives me the shits as well though is like, I know I've had West Coast people coming up and saying, "Oh, you don't want to give up 2 first-round draft picks or whatever it is for Chad Warner." Like, look what West Coast did with Tim Kelly. Like, that didn't work out. It's like you can't even compare. Like, that's like comparing mattresses with apples. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even a comparison. Chad Warner is 23 years old, arguably probably the best player in the competition at the moment. He was a relatively high draft pick from Perth, pretty good attitude. Could win a premiership this year for Sydney. Like, you can't even compare that to Tim Kelly. And the way he fits into our demographic as well, like, same age as Sharp and Sarong and Jackson. It's the perfect fit for us, really. West Coast really screwed up. They haven't had that balance of your older players and some younger players. It's all over the show. You've got really young guys, really old guys who are at the back of their career and getting injured. And then they kind of just slotted Kelly in there randomly. It's like, it didn't really make sense at the time. But
well, I sort of get it. It did make sense to me at the time because they got him on the back of a premiership.
yeah.
They got him in 2019, the year after they won a premiership. So I get it. They were trying to squeeze that last little bit of juice out of the lemon. But it just didn't work. And
it's more in hindsight, I suppose, right? Like, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's hindsight. I don't blame them. I really don't. Like, we make fun of it. We joke about it now because it's like the prototypical Freo move from like 2000. You know, it's the sort of thing we would have done. But Chad Warner is, in my mind, a far, far, far better player than Tim Kelly.
Yeah.
I would give up all 3 of those picks. All 3 of those picks are not enough to get Chad Warner. Those 3 first-round draft picks will not be enough because none of them will be within 10, the way it's looking at the moment. And Sydney are not going to accept a bunch of picks in the teens. I wouldn't. You know, which is why this brings me to my next discussion point, and I've received some criticism, as I always do, about we are going to have to give something up to get Chad Warner. There's no way around that. Anyone who thinks that we're not going to give something up are foolish. So what is that we're going to give up? Well, there's 3 options in my mind. First of all, at the end of this year, it is expected that the AFL is going to announce that you can trade first rounders or picks 2 years into the future, not 1. So do we go, right, You can have our 3 picks and we'll give you our next 2 first-round picks. That'd be 5 first-round picks. Now, not saying we should do that. I'm saying that there's, that there would plausibly be that potential ability to do it. The next one is my guy, Brayshaw. Now, no one believes. I know both of you guys. Neither of you believe that we will be letting him go. I think for Freo, firstly, he's out of contract. He's a pre-agent, as Cal Toomey calls it. He's out of contract next year, and he hasn't signed. Does that mean he's looking around? There have been reports that St Kilda have made multiple approaches to Andy Brayshaw already. So does that mean he's... And they've got a war chest of money. So does he even want to be here? That's the first thing. Secondly, the second option that has really only ever crossed my mind this year, and is because of the rise of Josh Draper. The way he's performing in that back line, do we need Brennan Cox? That's a question to you guys.
Go on, Pete.
You raised it to me the other day, and I don't mind the idea, but I can't see him going anywhere but South Australia if he was to be traded.
Yeah, agree. And that's why I'm not necessarily saying straight swap to Sydney. What I'm saying is a potential, three-way trades and bits and pieces. The thing about this one is that he just signed a 7-year deal. He's just had a kid. He's with his missus from WA.
Yeah.
He's like other wife is Luke Ryan. So what are the flow-on effects if Freo say, hey, Luke, your best mate, we're trading him even though he doesn't want to go and he's just got a young family.
Yeah.
Culturally, what does that do? I don't know.
Well,
What
that's
does it do? Yeah.
That's the same thing about Brayshaw, though, because you joke about Ryan and Cox being married to each other. I think it's similar kind of dynamic with Sarong and Brayshaw. Like, they're really good mates off field, and Sarong just proposed to his missus, I think. So congratulations to those two. But yeah, what does that say? Like, if you get rid of a guy like Brayshaw, who isn't the most skilled in the team, but he does a lot of good stuff, particularly defensively, which I'm sure he does better than Chad Warner. So I don't think we need to give up Brayshaw to get Chad Warner into the team. I reckon they would both complement each other. And how many times has Warner started on a half-forward flank this year? Like,
But don't get me wrong. I don't think they'd be competing for the same role or same position. I don't believe that. My question is, what are Sydney going to? What would they accept?
Yeah.
As a trade, because we are going to have to give something up. So if not Cox or Brayshaw, you guys tell me what? What? Like,
picks. Yeah, I don't know.
What do we give 5 first-round draft picks? Like, or do we? Yeah.
I don't think we'll have to go up 5.
No,
I think 3 would get it done.
Yeah.
We're going to have to somehow get into the top 10 to send it over there.
Yeah.
So whether they're trading 2 to get 2 teams to get up higher, I don't know.
Yeah. So do we target Brisbane's pick? Because they reckon Brisbane need points to get the other Ashcroft. So do we go, right, we'll give you pick 10 and pick 17 or whatever it is for your pick 3? Or, well, actually, what if they make the 8, their pick may end up turning into like a top 10 pick anyway. So, or not, yeah, like a pick 10 or early teens pick. So, yeah, I don't know. It's obviously it's a lot of speculation. We don't really know, but yeah, it's just interesting thought, interesting discussion. Because yeah, I don't like David Walls at all. I think David Walls has single-handedly held us back for years, but if he can somehow work a way to get Chad Warner to the club, then I'll start casting the statue.
Who's the dude that we got from Geelong? He's another recruitment fella, hey? I think he was their head of recruitment for a bit. Apparently Freo got him anyway into their team. So if he can attract players like what Geelong have been able to attract, then yeah, let's see if he can work his magic. But
well, they got to be minimum 28.
yeah.
Rightio. So I think we've gone long, as we always do when we're talking about the Dockers and moving forward, Dockers and the like. So what I'm going to propose is that we have a little bit of a break, and then we come back and we'll discuss some American sport. All right. So we'll see you in a couple of minutes. The next song, this song that we're going to play, is called "Every You, Every Me" by Placebo.
selfish, I'm unkind. Sucker love, I always find someone to bruise and leave behind. All alone in space and time, there's nothing near but what here's mine. Something borrowed, something blue, every me and every you. Every me and every you. Every me. 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 Every me and every you. Every me.
Rightio, welcome back to the You Can't Handle the Truth Sports podcast. Sorry for a little bit of a delay there in the music. Bad job by me, as always. So I want to move across to the American sports, which is a passion of mine for a number of reasons, and I know you lads are the same. First of all, what brought you guys into American sport? I get asked this question a bit. Like, why do you like the NFL so much? Why do you like baseball? Why do you like the NBA? Well, I'll start maybe with you, Pete. What brought you into it?
It was probably basketball to start with, and it was probably when Shaq and Penny Hardaway were going around to the Magic. That was my first real introduction, primary school, and that. With the NBA, and then I'll start off, I guess, with the Wildcats over here, and then started to see some games on TV and that with the Magic and those two, and then that branched out to the NFL, and
Yeah.
that's
So,
sort of how it started.
do you have a preference now? What's your favorite?
Oh, NFL, yeah.
NFL. Yeah, me too. Yeah, for sure. Kyle, what about you?
So what brought me into it initially was an old mate. His whole family, a bit like our family, loved AFL, but also got into the American sports. So NBA was the first that I started watching, and he was a massive Miami fan back in the day, and they would always have really good clashes with the Boston Celtics, right? When they had Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. And I just remember watching those three in particular and just thinking, this is just a mega team. I want to jump on board with this. So got into the Celtics. And then yourself actually got me into the NFL. And I was like, hey, I don't know what team to support. Obviously, Tom Brady was there and that Boston connection. I was like, screw it, go for the Patriots. So
I'm
that's how it all
calling
became for
bullshit.
me.
I'm calling bullshit. I reckon you just went, who's the most successful team? So I can jump on board.
Well, I can play the whole Boston link there with the fanfare for the Celtics. So
Shout out,
To be fair,
bandwagon.
after supporting Freo for so long, do you blame him?
No,
yeah, that's
not
it.
at all.
Give me
I don't.
something to support.
People, yeah. Full disclosure, I support the Golden State Warriors, and the year before they had their dynasty, that was the year that I jumped on board, and so it looked pretty suspect for me too. Okay, good. So the NBA finals are on at the moment. Your Celtics are looking pretty good. They're 2-0 up in the championship. They're playing today against the Dallas
Yeah,
Mavericks
start now.
in Dallas. So I don't know if you've been following much of that, but it's been pretty convincing. The Celtics,
Yeah.
like, they haven't been just like close games or anything. Have you been watching much of that?
I think when you've got Kristaps Porzingis come as the sixth man, that's pretty handy. Is he actually playing? Because I heard that he
No,
hurt
no,
his
he's
leg.
hurt. He's been ruled out
Yeah.
of game 3.
So we'll see what that does for game 3. Like, it's back in
Yeah,
Dallas now, right, for the next 2 games. So
yeah. So they always say, particularly in America, because they do obviously best of 7 series, that you're not behind until you lose a home game.
yeah,
And that's true. I mean, I think it's true anyway. So we'll, it'll be interesting to see because the Celtics are loaded, right? They are a
Yeah.
loaded team. But my personal opinion, and I said this to the pistol earlier, my personal opinion is that if the Nuggets had have played to their ability, they would be beating the Celtics right now. Because I don't think, like, as good as what the Celtics are, I believe that the Joker is good enough to, to have carried his team across guys like Tatum and Brown, who are good. I kind of see Joker as an A plus star, and I kind of see Tatum and Brown as an A- star. That's the way I look at it. Very good players, just not quite at that Joker level.
But it just needs to click at the right time of year, right? Like how many times you've seen the AFL where the best team doesn't necessarily always win the grand final?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh no, I
Well,
know
this
that.
guy,
It's not trying to be disrespectful to the Celtics. Look, you could they've been very close for a very long time.
Yeah.
Celtics, like the second they got Jason Tatum into their side, they were close to winning it. So no, I think that they're a quality organisation and they're always going to be close. But did you know they've only won one championship in 38 years? So for a team that is very storied, they talk about how they're always good, and they are always good. They haven't actually won one in a while.
Probably backing off the whole Larry Bird times, right? Like
Yeah,
that rich history with him. But I think Drew Holiday has been a massive pickup for the Celtics this
yeah,
year. Like he's awesome. He was a massive upgrade on Marcus Smart, in
yeah.
my opinion. But yeah, I reckon he's brought a lot. And Porzingis, when he has played, he's proven to be effective. So
And if you look at the Mavericks, jump in here, Pete, if you've got any views. But if you look at the Mavericks, their team, obviously they've got Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, but other than that,
yeah,
they've
I
got
really
PJ
need Bird to
Washington,
come in.
some guy named Jones Jr. and Gafford as their
Gafford, yeah.
as their starting five, and then on the bench they've got guys like Dante Exum. They've got nobody on the bench, so yeah.
Shout out to Dante.
Yeah, shout out Dante,
I'm sure he's watching.
future NBL Hall of Famer. That's where we end up playing most of his games. Yeah, Pete. I know you're a poor, long-suffering Orlando fan, Pete. So I know it's hard for you to discuss NBA championships.
Yeah, we had our shot with Penny and Shaq in the side and got nailed by Seattle. So that was the last time we were there in the early '90s. But
What's Dwight Howard doing
decent.
these days?
Somewhere in China. He's in
Having
later, I
sex
think.
So, yeah, look, American sport, the thing about American sport, and I think I've ranted about this before, so much of it comes down to ownership. So, if you have a bad owner, which I would argue the Orlando Magic have bad owners, because let's face it, Orlando is a lovely part of the world. They, it's not like where you're asking players to move to Cleveland, right? Or, very cold garbage place. Like Orlando is a destination city, right? So if you have an organisation built around ownership that is prepared to spend money and attract players and pay their players and treat them well and coach them well, then there is no reason why Orlando shouldn't be, right up there all the time. But they just never have. They got lucky with Shaq. They got lucky with Hardaway. I don't even think they made the champ. Like they didn't play in a championship. They didn't win a championship. I know that.
Nah, we
But
lost to Seattle in the
yes,
in the
okay.
championship series.
So be better. And this probably steers me towards the second most hated organisation for me, aside from West Coast, in the world. And it's all because of ownership and because of what they do. And that is the fucking LA Dodgers, who I just despise because their ownership is the right ownership. And they go out and just fucking buy any superstar that they can and do. And then they are forever, for the rest of our lives, they are going to be championship threats. And there's nothing, and it's got nothing to do with the way that they draft. It's got nothing to do with the way. It's because of their location and their ownership, which is good for them, great for them. But I want them to lose all the time. There is no team I want to see lose to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
What's their salary cap situation?
Baseball is a very, very soft salary
Is
cap.
it?
They don't really have one.
Be like soccer.
Yeah, it's like that. Like they pay what they call a luxury tax. So if they go over a certain amount of money, then they have to pay a tax to the league on that. Mm-hmm. But that's nothing because they're fucking oil barons. Like they've got billions and billions of dollars between them. Like a minority stake owner is Magic Johnson, who is worth over $1 billion. He's a minority stake owner. He's like the face of the Guggenheim Group. So
it's crazy, big money.
It is. It's nuts, and it drives me nuts. And the Yankees are the same. The Boston Red Sox are sort of the same, although they just seemingly don't have willingness to do it as often.
They've got the FSG group in there. They're more towards your Moneyball these days.
Yeah, the Cubs. But funnily enough, in baseball in particular, you tend to see surprise teams win it. Like the Kansas City Royals won it, and they don't spend any money. They won it 10 years ago. Atlanta Braves spend a bit of money, but Atlanta, they're not in the same, in the same stratosphere. Washington Nationals won it not that long ago. And pleasingly, all of these teams managed to beat the Dodgers, who had double the amount of salary, all these superstars, and then they lose. So it's good. That's the way I want to see it. But yeah, it just drives me nuts that in that league, you can legitimately give yourself an absolute leg up. Yeah. Okay. Anything else on that from you guys?
No, not really. Let's just hope the Celtics get up in Game 3. What do you reckon?
I reckon they're a good chance. They're actually a pretty good chance for a sweep, I think.
I reckon the only way the Mavs win is if they start dropping some shots from outside the arc. Like they've looked at it last night. They were 5 from 32 this series, outside of Doncic, and no one's hitting. Kyrie hasn't hit one from 8 attempts. I think the other two guys were Washington and Jones Jr., and they're not dropping them either. So, 5 from 32 from guys that aren't called Doncic. So, unless they're hitting those.
Yeah, no, it's not not going to be pleasant for the Mavs, but they've done pretty well to get there, really. Even the Timberwolves, I think, were a better team than the Mavs.
Yeah, I was disappointed they got outed, to be honest.
Yeah. They got Anthony Edwards, they got Cat, they got some really good players down there. I'm impressed with them. Righto, so we're coming towards the end of our time, I think. Look, this has been really fun. Chatting footy and shooting the shit. What we're going to do now is the Forgotten Footballers. So, if anyone's been listening, you'll know that we've done the Forgotten Dockers segment, and we're going to be putting together between Pistol and I, our two teams of the the most unrecognisable names in Freo Footy Club history. But now, when we get a guest on, we're going to start putting a guest list together as well. So it doesn't have to be Freo, and can be any team that you want. So 6 players, any positions. Kyle, I know you've got some names prepared, so shoot away.
Yeah, so I've decided to go down the big 6 Victorian teams. So I've gone down that route, and we'll go in alphabetical order. So first team's Carlton, and this guy's a half-back, probably more known for his umpiring career than his footy career. But I've gone with Jordan Bannister. So he played 53 games for Carlton and 90-odd games as an umpire. Fun fact, he actually got 2 Brownlow votes, tagging Nathan Buckley one match.
Wow.
And he was told in round 16 in 2007 by Dennis Pagan at halftime, enjoy, mate. Enjoy this last half because it's going to be your last.
Wow.
So fun fact there.
Wow.
Turns out that Dennis Pagan actually got sacked and Ben Radden took over. So
that's hilarious.
yeah,
Imagine
that's my
saying
number
that
one,
to
and
your-
at halfback.
Imagine saying that to your own player. Like that is brutal, and hilarious at the same time. Okay, so Jordan Bannister.
What else would you expect from Pagan?
Yeah, he also played for Essendon. Bannister.
Yeah, 14 games or something, I think.
Yeah. I remember speaking to a family friend. You know who I'm talking about. And he used to like Bannister. That's why, he doesn't know much about.
I'm sure he's a good bloke.
Yeah. All right, Bannister, Jordan Bannister, I like it.
So, Jordan Bannister. So heading into the next one is a Collingwood player. So this bloke played 16 games for Brisbane. He was a pretty high draft pick, first round. 48 games for Collingwood, so he played most of his footy at Collingwood. And 24 for Carlton. And yeah, he was a ruckman, just couldn't ever quite crack the team. When you had guys like Darren Jolly and Josh Fraser, a few of those guys, Chris Dawes. But yeah, Cameron Wood is my ruckman that I've selected. And another fun fact about Wood, he actually won the Chase TV show in 2017.
So he's actually got some smarts to him then as well. Or at least he knows trivia.
Yeah.
Right,
exactly. Useless facts.
That is a name I can legitimately say I haven't thought of in a long time. Did he win a premiership with the Pies? No, he couldn't have because
he could never crack the side.
Yeah. All right, good job. All right.
Well, no, he was there for the 2010, 2012, but he could never crack the side because he had guys like Dawes and Jolly and stuff. So
he might have been there as the runner. Yeah. All right.
Exactly.
Good stuff. Next one.
So Essen, this guy, I always used to laugh because he had a thumping kick on him, and he could kick him from boundary and do a few things, a bit like Clive Waterhouse. He kind of looks like the Freo mascot. But 21 games for Essen. He only played a couple seasons before he did his ACL, and he just wasn't that good. But Courtney Johns from Essen.
I knew who you were talking about. Yeah. And you know what? Fun fact about him, he ended up going to play, because he was West Australian, he ended up playing a lot of footy for East Fremantle. And East Fremantle, at the time, had another guy who you know and played in a grand final with, Rod Tregenza, playing with them at that time as well. So their forward line was stacked at that time. Absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right, Courtney Johns. Yeah, and he had hip problems as well. Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Yeah. Blast from the past, that one. But we go into Hawthorn. So this guy, you could say he nearly struck gold by being Nat Fyfe's neighbour from Lake Grace. But these guys were brothers and all played AFL. but he was probably the lesser brother out of the three. So you had Cale Morton, you had Mitch Morton, and I've selected Jared Morton from Hawthorn, who played 22 games for Hawthorn, and he's my halfback.
Jared Morton. Now, he got in trouble, I'm pretty sure. Was he the one he got in trouble because he got found with MDMA or something? I thought, maybe.
I think that was Tuck, Travis Tuck, wasn't it?
No, it was Travis Tuck had issues, but obviously, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. I shouldn't probably announce that over the public air, but yeah, right. So, no, I just thought for some reason he got in trouble with the law. But Jared Morton, yeah. So he was from Lake Grace, was he? Him and his brothers.
Yeah, or the Morton family. Yeah, yep. So they were best known for being neighbours to Nat Fyfe, and obviously Nat Fyfe went on to have a much better career than all three of them put together.
Although one of them won a premiership with Sydney, so not Cale because he was the top 3 pick from Melbourne, and then ended up at West Coast doing nothing. And then Jared was obviously garbage, and the third one was I can't remember his name, but
Mitch Morton.
Mitch Morton, yeah.
Mitch Morton.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So that's number 4. Number 5.
Number 5. So we're going into Melbourne, and this guy was electric when he got into the field. Had skill and pace to burn. Played 31 games for the D's. He was actually criticised a lot for being overweight by supporters. But yeah, he actually won a Rising Star nomination by destroying Freo by kicking 3 goals in the last quarter to come from behind and win the game essentially. But Austin Wanamiri is my forward pocket.
That game, bro.
And funny enough, Dean Bailey actually had massive concerns about his love for hunting sea turtle in the off season, and he loved hunting and eating sea turtle, and Dean Bailey wasn't about that. So
rest in peace, Dean Bailey.
But he's my number 5.
That game, we were 49 points up at halftime, and that game last week that we had against Melbourne, when we were up by like 50 points, I actually recalled Wanamiri and that exact game because all I could think of was far out. Melbourne couldn't do this to us again, could they? He was a good player. Commitment maybe not quite there. But, good player. Good player when he was on. Jeez, he was on that game against Freo. Whoa, he was electric. All right, round her out.
And last one. So best for last, I've saved this one for Richmond. So this guy played a grand total of 2 games for the Richmond Football Club. His second game, he was actually knocked out. And you could argue maybe concussion was probably the issue for why he didn't come back, but I'd argue differently to that. I think it was his lack of commitment and professionalism. But he actually played a fair few games for Richmond affiliate Coburg, and he got in trouble by Coburg for breaking night curfew multiple times. And he was actually warned once for eating a hamburger before a match. So who would have thought being a professional athlete and eating quarter pounders before a game probably isn't the best idea, but good, like talented footballer, I think, at heart. But Relton Roberts from Richmond Football Club is my forward pocket.
Relton Roberts.
I'm pretty sure he stitched a lot of fantasy owners up because he was a late in round 1 year. And everyone threw him in as a rookie that was actually playing. And then we got stitched up.
Yeah, I remember that. Relton Roberts, yeah. This no racial overtones to this at all, but I remember people like talking about him like he was Byron Pickett. And he just wasn't. He just was not. Although they both probably weigh the same.
Didn't quite hit those levels.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. That's good. All right. Well, if you can send me through that list in text or whatever, I'll collate it, and then we'll start putting together a progressive team. If you could put together their position that you'd like them to go in, we can. We'll start putting that team together. All right, good pod, very good. I'm sure we have completely destroyed the time clock, but that's okay.
We're just over the hour mark.
Yeah, are we?
Yep, just over.
Okay, all right, good.
All good.
Well, for those following, you can get at us at or get at myself at rubbishych at on Twitter, and you can get at the pistol at the pistol 17. Kyle, have you got any Twitter handle or Facebook handle or anything like that you want to plug in case anyone wants to get hold of you?
Nah, nothing at this stage. But if I get more active on Twitter, hopefully, if I get on the podcast again, I'll give that a shout out.
Very, very good. All right, thanks, boys. Love your work, and let's hope the Dockers get their shit together for this weekend.
Absolutely.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, fellas. Thanks for having me on board.
Good to have you.